Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Also to everyone who is here. I know that there's something like a festival outside or so, or something like a sports event. So I try to be brief so that you can also go there afterwards. Perhaps you can warm up the voice and then shout even louder then if you are there afterwards. So yes, this is also for me the first time in Ghent actually, and the first time at the University of Ghent. And this has been an exciting journey now for about four different weeks, where we also had, well, I'm now talking in 4 different cities, actually. I started in Sonneborg, right? And then you had me from Berlin, and now I'm here in Ghent. So yeah, traveling a lot as well. Okay, so what we are going to do today, or what I try to do with you today is to give you an idea about what the kind of training looks like that I'm normally doing in Denmark for our entrepreneurs or for our startup founders. And I said that this is something with about 4 hours for 12 weeks, so it's basically 48 hours. I'm trying to squeeze this now here into 1 single hour. But not everything. So I try to be brief. I try to select a bit to just for you to get an idea, and also to say this already now. There will also be a slide at the end that if you have an interest in sending me a voice sample, so a speech sample, when you think, well, I feel like I want to send me basically a sound file, then please do so. Okay. So the first thing that I would like you to open, or the first thing that I would like to say, if you send me a file, what you will get is something like this. So even on 5 different pages, actually, with some explanations in between. So you get basically what you see is for 4 different prosodic parameters, where different people are on these parameters, like Barack Obama, Steve Jobs, or Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, blah blah blah. And then you will find yourself. The arrow is basically you. So if you send me a sound file, you see how basically you perform on each of these scales in comparison to people that you can basically choose. And then you get a score, and the score tells you if, let's say, this audience will just rate an average of your performance. This is what the score is going to show you quite accurately. So this is what we are working towards, what we try to work towards. And I have the focus today on a bit something like pitch, because pitch is easy and transparent, relatively easy compared to something like tempo, which is a little harder to practice. Let me also look at what is called emphatic accents, because I think they make a big difference, and they are somehow similar in many Western Germanic languages, and yeah, potentially also useful for you, at least if you are speaking second language English. And we start actually with your turn, and the idea was, as I also said, the idea was that you gather in 3 groups and do little exercises, which is in this kind of setting relatively difficult. So we will try to do it in a slightly different way. But what you could do is you can open this little tool. You might have used it already. It's called mpitch, and M does not stand for something like I'm American. It stands for amplitude and pitch. So if you Google, for example, mpitch and speech and hearing or so, you definitely get the link as one of the first things. If you happen to have Apple, there might be some problems in starting this, because this is a browser-based tool. If you have a Windows PC, it's sometimes easier. So the first thing that you could try is actually to start this mpitch tool. And if you have set it up, it will record your voice, and it will show the real-time feedback of your voice. This is something that I would like you to try out. If you go there, and if you have opened the website, you can go to something like configuration, so configure, and then you can go to, and then you can basically set your biological sex, and then it sets the default values for you, and you can also, for example, turn off horizontal scrolling and set the time frame to a different time frame. So, yeah, has anybody opened the website already? By the way, it also works on smartphones. Okay, it also works on smartphones. If you click on Run and say something, or perhaps if I'm loud enough, you will also see my voice on your screen. Then you will get a real-time representation of what you say. So if you are raising your voice, or if you are raising the pitch of your voice, then the curve goes up. If you are falling with your intonation, the curve will fall. Okay, this is basically how it works. And if you try that out, especially if you go to configure and switch off horizontal scrolling, please. So configuration, horizontal scrolling off, and then please set the time. Below you can set the time to something like, for example, 60 seconds or 90 seconds. We need a bit more like an overview. That would be nice if you could set the time accordingly to 60 seconds or to 90 seconds. Okay, and now the idea was originally that I've put you into 3 different groups and you try something out. One of the groups could try something like soft, normal, and loud voice. Just say anything into the system, it doesn't matter. Soft, normal, and loud. But we could try it over there. So let's say you are over there. You are group number 1. And just 1 or 2 of you could just try that out. And then one of you needs to tell me what you can see on the screen when you have done soft, normal, and loud. So, and then we hope that this is acoustically somewhat separated because you, yeah, the hope dies last, right? So this here is group number 2, and group number 2 does the non-smiling and smiling thing. So you are talking into the laptop. Whatever you say, it doesn't matter. It is today only about how you say things, not about what you say. It can be your weekend, it can be the last fries and beer that you had, and your experience, whatever. It doesn't matter. So group number 2 is down here, and this is about smiling and non-smiling. Okay. And group number 3, which is up there, this is the group that does the maximally boring presentation ever. And then at about half of the screen, of your 60 or 90 seconds, you are switching to the maximally enthusiastic speech ever. And then you look, what is the difference between these curves that you see on the screen, okay? And we just hope that it works. If you get close to your microphone, then I hope that the laptop picks up you most. So let's say we take just 5 minutes or so, and we try it out. You get close to your laptop, and then if you have the difference, or if you see what's going on, then we get feedback afterwards. Okay, so are we good to go? Ready to start? Yes. Okay. Yeah, if you want to go outside, it's fine. It's just no. Okay. So then please stay inside. I thought that you were instructing people to leave. No. Okay. Okay. Huh? Yes, it's just run. doesn't start running. It's an Apple thing, yeah. Not a problem for me. Yes, because sometimes Apple blocks the microphone. For example, she has Apple too, and it works. If Apple blocks the microphone, yeah. Ah, okay. That's good. Ah, that looks nice. Oh, not bad. For the boring ones, try to get a, well. Some time left. Last minute. 1 minute left. Claudia, did she make it work? Super. Oh, sorry. So, okay. What do we see? Does anybody see anything at all? So if let's start perhaps with the group par, which is actually also groups. So I just A and S are next to each other. So group 3, let us start with group 3 and then we go the opposite order back. Group 3 is up there. Maximally boring versus super exciting. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. That was super. Something else that changed maybe? Maybe not so much because in this setting, my God, but anybody else? Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Super nice. So we basically have a larger range, or let's say we have more variability when we are more enthusiastic and we have a higher level. These things can happen. Anything else that you have observed? It's getting a little trickier to observe things beyond that, but sometimes we have a few good observers. Okay, we will get back to that later. Okay, group number 2, smiling, not smiling. This is down here. No. Ah, so basically you mean the number of ups and downs per time unit. Okay, that's something new. Okay, that happens hardly ever, but yeah, super. Okay, so we also see smiling, non-smiling. If you're going for smiling, bit of a higher pitch level, larger pitch range. Group number 1, normal or soft, normal, loud. I haven't heard so loud, but perhaps you still have an idea about what goes on. I mean, this was the hardest group because we had a 3-level contrast, not just a 2-level contrast to implement. Any observations that you want to share? You can just say it looks very similar to what the others have. Oh, really? It looks very similar to what the other groups have. Oh, yes, this is a very good observation because this is actually how it should be. So I've tried this at home, fortunately. And if you would do that, for example, also in a bit more like a quiet environment, this is how, when I'm speaking soft, this is about 100 hertz. So by the way, I haven't said that. What you have on the x-axis is time. What you have on the y-axis is the frequency of your vocal fold vibration, the fundamental frequency F0 in hertz, and not quite linearly, but this makes sense. So you basically get a nonlinear representation of the fundamental frequency. So if I'm talking softly, I have about 100 hertz, a little bit higher perhaps, and the range is about half an octave, I would say. So if I talk louder, the range expands a bit, but what actually changes most is the pitch level. Now I'm at about 100, so on average, at about 170. And if I go really loud, then it's about 250 perhaps. But this is already shouting, so you wouldn't do that normally. But this is the things that change. It is actually less the range and more the level, but both change significantly to some degree. Smiling, non-smiling, just as Giuseppe said, the non-smiling looks very similar. Also, in my case, I'm quite low, actually even lower than soft. I don't know why, but it's lower than soft, and the range seems to be quite narrow. If I'm starting to smile, it is really big changing. And by the way, if you go into something like personality traits, there's a correlation between how big is the difference and what is your personality. So this is also something that we could, for example, look into. Not today, but in general. So also for me, the lows did not really get lower, but at least they stayed low. But the highs also get higher, and there's also more variability per time unit going on. And finally, enthusiastic versus boring looks very similar to smiling versus non-smiling. This is basically soft or non-smiling or boring. And then for the enthusiastic bit, we get a drastic increase in pitch range, also in pitch variability. There's always a bit of measurement error, so you can basically ignore all these kind of things up there and also down there. But we see that there is more in terms of pitch range going on, also in terms of changes per time unit. So the important thing that I would like to make, the important message, and I think I've said this already in the very, very first session that we had just about 1 month ago, is if people tell you that the best voice is something low pitched, is actually not really true. So there is a bit of truth in it, and we will get to that in a second. But an actual presentation voice, if you are smiling, if you are enthusiastic, if you are louder. I mean, I've got a microphone here, but even with this one, I shouldn't really talk like this. This would be perhaps the soft voice, and then of course the pitch is lower, but I don't really come across so nicely. But if I'm talking louder, the pitch gets higher. So basically, presentation voices are higher and not lower, at least on average. Of course, you have to be low at some parts of your presentation, but on average they are high. And if I, for example, take the mean values, just like you did it, Giuseppe, for example, the mean values of Obama in his keynote speeches, or of Steve Jobs in his keynote speeches, we have them in the lower third of the female speakers' average pitch levels. So this is the distribution of male and female pitch levels. This is from German, okay? This is from the German Forensic Criminalistic Institute. So this is the official German pitch distribution in the population a few years ago. And here you have charismatic male speakers. So by the way, this kind of stereotypical pink versus light blue is not done by me. It was done by the forensic people. I just copied the graph. But you can see that this is where the male people are. And basically for the females, it is not so different. So to be a charismatic speaker means basically to go up in pitch on average. If, this is a little disclaimer, if the volume goes up as well, because there is a little thing of an interaction between something like loudness level on the one hand and pitch level on the other. So for example, if you are high pitched in your voice, but not really loud enough, then the impression that you make is not really charismatic. It's actually something like shy. So if you are high pitched and soft voice, people might think that you are actually a bit insecure. But high pitched and loud is fine. The opposite, if you are low pitched, it's fine. For example, if you have an audiobook and you are not talking very loudly, then basically the voice can go down and nobody would complain, unless you are starting to talk louder and do not raise your pitch, but you are staying low, then you are sounding dominant, which is also not really the thing that you want. So you want to be up there, basically in presentations or in dialogue interactions, maybe down there, but not on one of the kind of the orange curve. So, and speaking about where you should get low, of course, you should also get low at some places. It's not that you have to be high all the time. That's also just like Giuseppe said, and I think we also heard it up there. Being low is actually also important, but not all the time. Being low makes a big difference towards the ends of your presentation, of your sentences. Sorry, of your sentences. So. Of your prosodic phrases, basically, at least when you are concluding something like a message, then you should actually reach as low as you can. If you get to that and you want to get to the advanced level, even without strong final lengthening. Perhaps you've heard that some people fall low, but at the same time have a very strong final lengthening. We have some talk masters in German TV. They lengthen very strongly. This has a specific sound to it and a specific trait to it, but it's not the most charismatic things. If you look, for example, into how Obama talks, he stays slow until the very end, and then he falls. So you are basically high and high and high, and then you are falling, and then that's it. So this is the kind of thing that that I can also play to you, hopefully. Wait a second. Maybe not. Okay, next one. Perhaps it's something with the presentation mode. Well, I can also do it for you. So what I wanted to show you is, for example, and you can try that in your M pitch. For the male speakers, there is a little threshold, perceptual threshold at about 100 hertz. So if I fall with my statements like this, you can hear that I'm falling, but not really low. It makes me sound a little indifferent, a little weak maybe. So I don't really sound so decided when I'm falling like this. And the reason is that I'm not falling low enough. Very often you're falling like this when you're actually not really standing behind this kind of conclusion, or when you are continuing, right? So this is the kind of thing that we want to avoid, that also Elon Musk is doing all the time, which makes him sound very weak. So what you actually want to do is you want to not stop here, but here. So basically you have to go all the way down, and then you have to be low at the ends of statements, at the ends of conclusions. This is something that is very important. This is the difference between you being perceived as self-confident or not self-confident. Therefore, I can't here. And we can actually try that out. I have a little exercise, but I don't know if
the heart of your Facebook experience.
We can in pairs. So just to wrap up this first little round is pitch level. If you need reference values for the M pitch that you just have tried out, pitch level is 150 to 170 hertz. Yes, for the male speakers, which is way higher than you might normally talk. And for the female speakers, it's not so different. So actually, the ideal ranges of pitch for males and females in presentations are very, very close to each other. For the female speakers, 190 to 220 hertz on average. So basically, the female speakers have the luxury situation of basically stay where they are with the pitch level. The male speakers can and must actually raise the pitch a lot. And then we have for the pitch range, I show you this again. Here, for example, this is the kind of 100 hertz that we see. So about 1 octave, or basically 3 times the low value is a good pitch range. If you fall to something like as low as about 70 hertz or about 80 hertz, then 160 would be the normal reading pitch range. So if you would produce a text in a lab experiment and you would read something that is not really emotionally attaching, then you have normally twice of the lowest values for your top levels, which is a bit like the boring, but a bit more perhaps than that. But if you are speaking charismatically, your pitch range increases 3 times the low value. So if this is 80, it's 160, and then it's 240. If you are getting way higher, which I admittedly did here, then you can get too extensive, and then you are getting this kind of teleshopping sing-song intonation. Yeah, what a wonderful pen! Let us buy it, right? Whoa, whoa, whoa. So you can actually also exaggerate that. So be careful not to exaggerate. The ideal thing is about 3 times the low value, and of course this is basically true for the females and for the males. The females might be with the lowest values below 150, perhaps about here, and then of course let's say 130 times 3 would be about 400 hertz for the maximums on average that you can reach. That would be ideal. If you are below 300 as a female speaker, that's not enough. And there are 2 different ways how you can actually reach this kind of level. One of them is on stressed words. The second one is phrase finally, right? So if you are not finished, you can raise the voice at the ends of phrases. And this kind of thing it was actually even activating. So especially if you're accelerating towards the end of the phrase, then you can increase your pitch range. For example, if I would ask you, are you from Ghent? Right? Are you from Ghent? Ghent? We've accelerated. This is not just a question. It is actually also an invitation to tell a bit more about you. I can also ask you something like, "Am I from Ghent?" And then you should only say yes or no, and then I'm again to continue to speak. So the kind of deaccelerating. Wait, I get a little piece of chalk. What? Oh, this one. Yes. Oh, so much. Oh, wow. I take something home because we never have enough of them. So this is the kind of thing. This is a good rising end. No? Okay. Aha. Let's see. Accelerating is basically inviting to, it is activating the audience. This one is actually even pushing away the audience a bit. Aha. Are you from Ghent? Okay. Let's see. What's your name? And I just wanted to the name. And what's your name? Then I actually want to know also perhaps, or I basically invite you to say a bit more about you. So, and this one is normally not as high as this one. So this one reaches a lot higher. That's also something that you can try out. So again, back to the reference values. We have about 150, 170 for the males, 290, 220 for the females. The pitch range is larger than factor 2 from low to high. Ideally, the lowest value times 3. And the final fall, which is for the males, really something like here. If the males fall to something like above 100 hertz, it sounds like that. It's a bit like giving in to somebody. And for the female, this is 150 hertz approximately. So if you fall below that, you are actually perceived, it is just a tiny difference, but it's a big difference perceptually that makes you sound a lot more self-confident. And we could actually try that now. I would at least like to try it. Well, we have 2 little exercises that we can do just for 5 minutes or so. And we literally, this is typically a group exercise, but group exercises don't really work so well, I think, here. Therefore, I think we can just go through to a few people. And this one here is called contrast escalation. Have you had prosodic course already here? Some had prosody. Okay, contrastive accents. Who knows contrastive accents? Okay, so many. Well, the point is that in many languages, German included, English included, I'm not so sure about Dutch, but I think it's so similar that in France, I think it works as well. So the point is, whenever you are correcting a previously given wrong information, the information that you give is higher pitched than the one that you are correcting. And we can use this to actually do some kind of stretching exercises for your voice. Professional speakers use this sometimes as stretching exercises so that you are basically training the muscles here and also basically warm up your voice and at the same time practice your the control of your voice. You're basically the trained ear that you have a bit. So, and it works like this. It's actually very, very simple. Someone starts giving a wrong information. You have been to Brussels yesterday. And then the other person says, no, I've been to Ghent yesterday, right? Brussels. Oh, wait, Brussels, Ghent. Yeah? And then the next one takes up this pitch level for the next wrong statement. You have been to Ghent yesterday. No, I've been to Hamburg yesterday. You have been to Hamburg yesterday. No, I've been to Paris yesterday. You have been to Paris yesterday. No, I've been to Frankfurt yesterday. You have been to Frankfurt, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is actually a very, very effective exercise because first of all, it stretches the muscles. And if you get into ridiculously high pitch levels, going 2-3 steps downwards doesn't really sound so ridiculous anymore, and you are still, I promise you, higher than you would normally be. So you can extend your pitch range. You can practice and strengthen the muscles down here, and by taking up the pitch value of the preceding statement, you at the same time get more control over which kind of pitch levels you actually reach with your voice while you are talking. Okay, let's try that out. So I think we will just go completely through. So somebody starts and then selects the one who is going to answer, and then we are proceeding from there, and then taking the next one who is going to answer. Is that somewhat clear? Let's perhaps just try it out. So we can do anything. We can do pets or city names or movie names, doesn't matter. Dutch, what Dutch? You can also do it in Dutch. Yes, of course. Yeah. Let's do with city names, because I think I can understand the names even in Dutch. So if you do city names in Dutch, I can understand them as well, better than pets or whatever. So some of you up there starts with you have been to yesterday in Dutch, and then you select the one who's going to answer, and he or she is definitely inherently spontaneously higher pitched while answering, and then the next one has to answer then the previously made statement. Okay, so who's going to start? Okay. Okay, and now the next one. So you have, if the one you select has to say, you have has basically to repeat your utterance with the same pitch level on the statement, but it is a wrong statement, right? So you have been to Antwerpen yesterday. No, I've been to, what was it? Oh, that was Ghent. My goodness. Okay, so you have been to Antwerpen yesterday. No, I've been to Ghent yesterday. And then you select, and she has to say, you have been to Ghent yesterday to somebody else. And then this one has to say, no, I've been to yesterday. Okay. So, yeah. Now you have to repeat first. I have been to Brussels yesterday. You basically have to repeat this, and then the next one has to answer and go one step higher. So we try over again. We could have start this training. So somebody says, you have been to Antwerpen yesterday. And then the other one says, no, I've been to yesterday. And at the same time, ask the next one, you have been to yesterday. So, and then you always start with the correction. And at the same time, then ask somebody else with the same city name. No? So we start down here, maybe. And then we move all the way up to you again. So I start. You have been to, what is my city name? Yes, you have been to London yesterday. Okay. And now you have to ask somebody if he or she has been to Rome yesterday. Yes. 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 You have to go. You have to go higher. To live it. NATO, that must be really high now. But okay, so first of all, thanks a lot. I think we've done it. Yes. So the principle is clear, I think, and you can try that out. It is a very, very useful thing, especially in pairs of people. So it makes more fun if you do it in pairs of people. One of them starts, puts the other one, and then the other one responds back. The record is with 8 iterations, so basically 8 steps up. The secret is to start low. So you basically have to start very low. So something like you have been to Ghent yesterday, right? You have been to Ghent yesterday. And then you can actually get 8 times higher, but it is not so easy. Okay, so this is the first thing that you can try. And the second thing, this is perhaps easier that we do now. This is the but thing. Because we just saw that if you're not falling low enough, like Elon Musk does, listen to him. Whatever he says, he's falling like here, and then he stops here, and never falls low. So if you are doing this, you at the same time leave room for somebody saying, but, right? For example, if you say, oh, I like your new haircut, you can say but, right? Because I haven't said, oh, I like your new haircut. I said haircut, and not haircut, okay? Then you can say but, or this is a nice dress, but, right? Whatever. So this is so what we can do now is that somebody says something and the other one says either but or not, depending on whether you think that he or she went low or not low. So you can try to fall only until here, or basically all the way down, which is where your voice normally breaks into something like non-modal. So if you're falling just here, I can say but. And if you're falling very low, in the case of the male speakers, you normally fall into something like a creaky voice, something like there. This is the kind of Kardashian kind of voice, and there you are basically very, very low, and it's hard to get lower for the male people there. For the females, because your vocal folds are just a bit lighter, you are hardly ever inherently falling into the creaky voice. What you're doing is you're getting into the breathy voice. So it's ah. This is where the female voices break. If you have reached that point, it's normally low and not half low. Okay, so now again, somebody makes a statement, or yes, makes a statement. Then if the other one thinks that this was not low, he or she says, but if you think it was low, then you can say, aha, or thank you, or whatever. And then you ask the next, or you make the next statement to the next one, okay? For example, you start and say, I like your new hair color. And then you can say, but, and make the next statement, do you have, what was it? Did you have, I had fruit for dinner. And then you say, but, okay. So you make a statement and the next one says, but or not, depending on whether he or she thinks you have done all the way down or just half the way down. And it is on you to decide whether you want to go all the way down or half the way down. Should we just start? Anne. That was about level, but yeah. Yeah, you have to select one who's answering. I would say but. Yes. Okay, so I'm next. It is not so late now. Yes. Okay, then it's you. Yes, right. That was good because I think you actually went all the way down, right? Okay, then it's you now. Okay, that's me again. There's a festival outside. Yes, who said that? Yeah, okay, then it's you. Not always me. What? See, you can basically hear it. And with this exercise, you can control, or you can basically learn to hear and also to make the difference between half low and the full way down. But this is also very useful in pairs or whatever. Also, if you want to use it in M pitch, 100 hertz for the males, you have to fall below. 150 for the females, you have to fall below. Especially, by the way, especially the female speakers should train that because statistically speaking, this is one of the biggest problem of female speakers. Female speakers, for whatever reason, it's not biological, have some kind of inner restriction to fall very low. And one of the things that we do in our trainings, for example, in Denmark, is we are training and forcing female speakers to go all the way down, to sound more self-confident, because this is something that very often is not intrinsically there. So this is something that you should definitely, if you're a female speaker, try if you are really going, for example, below 150 hertz in M pitch, and that would make you sound a lot more self-confident than if you would just stop above, just for whatever kind of outdated social role behavior. You don't have to do that anymore. It's not helpful. Okay, so now a little bit of stressing. Well, stress you? No, I'm not. It's about word stress, and there are many ways actually to stress words to put extra, let's say, emotional expressiveness on your stressed words. This is one of the biggest differences besides the pitch range, for example, that we have also seen. Emphatic accents, the frequency of these accents and the types of these accents make a big difference. And we're going to go just through a few of them. They are basically more, but we don't really want to use or basically look at things that are not really useful in a presentation setting. All of these accents have in common that they are creating extra effort, and effort is basically appreciated. So if I invest effort here, you are perceiving me as being listener oriented and as being, or that I actually I'm standing behind my own content. This is something and that effort does with you. So, for example, if I would say something like, "Have you seen the newspaper?" and you would say, "Don't know." It doesn't really just mean I don't know. It also means I don't care, right? So if you are asking somebody, don't know. And the reason is because you have had less effort into it. If you would say, I don't know, you would also say, I don't know. At the same time, you are very listener oriented when you say things like these. The same thing, especially this works in German, perhaps Dutch is similar. We can say Guten Morgen, but also something like Guten Morgen. Guten Morgen. So if you are just meeting on the corridor, for example, outside in the university building, and you are on the way to your office, you are saying Guten Morgen. And Guten Morgen means also leave me alone. It means good morning, and it means I'm not interested in talking. Try it out. Or try out the opposite. Go there and say, good morning. People will immediately stop because they are thinking that you are want to start a conversation with them. So the effort is important for being listener oriented. And these kind of things put extra effort on your stressed words. So one of them is the so-called reinforcement. Let me try if I have the sounds.
They're going to join the over 225,000 apps.
He could live it up until he's 31 and then take out a policy that would pay more than Social Security.
The thing is, you have consonants and vowels, I guess you know that. And the thing is that in stressed syllables, you can actually lengthen the consonants. You can do it on basically every word that you could ever think of. You can lengthen the consonants. And what you are doing when you are lengthening the consonants in your production, you are putting, or you're basically underlining the truth value of what you are saying. So if you are saying that this is just amazing, or this is so super, or this has been, we've never seen something like that. Okay, so the lengthening of the consonants is called the reinforcement intensification. And it underlines the truth value of what you're saying, and people keep it longer in mind. There are studies showing that if you are stressing words with this kind of lengthening, people do remember them a lot longer than just with a normal stress, for instance. So this is something that the kind of reinforcement does to your presentations. This is basically the first thing that you can do. The second thing, because we also have vowels in our speech, we also say something like amazing. I've never seen something like this. This was great. What a fantastic day. Okay. Now you have lengthened the vowel and not the consonant. And the vowel lengthening, what it does functionally is that it underlines your own positive assessment of what you are saying. So basically, the information that you are providing, you're underlining that this is positive for you. This is what the vowel lengthening does. Normally, on a very high, long pitch plateau that you are producing on top of the kind of vowel. It's called positive intensification. If you need to remember what the difference is, I just went, it wasn't in Ghent, I must say, it was in Hamburg, but I'm in the metro and heard the difference. Well, if people say shit, okay, it can be just because this is an information. But if they want to underline that this was actually really shit, they say shit. So they have basically lengthened the consonant to stress that the truth value of this information. Or if you want to do that, you then you can say shit, right? And suddenly the same word becomes a positive intensification. So you are saying that this is actually something very positive. And you can do this with many different words. So this is the difference between the reinforcement on the one hand and the positive intensification on the other. Both is extra effort because you are basically investing more pitch, you are lengthening, you've got a higher intensity level. So everything here is extra effort. The next one is a lot more simple. You are basically just repeating the words. Very, very nice. Really, really good. Super, super bad. Whatever. Yeah. All the kind of very, very I mean, really's are basically also intensifications because you are repeating something. So you are putting extra effort into saying things twice. And the function is not so different from the reinforcement. It's a little bit more different, and that you are also creating attention because you are creating a discontinuity in what you are saying, and this attracts attention. There's a little danger in this because it can, if you are basically doing this too often, people might think, or it can actually backfire in the sense that you are sounding less charismatic rather than more charismatic. And the reason might be, yeah, this is completely speculation, but the reason might be because we have talked to researchers from first language acquisition, and they told us, well, if children want to put stress on something, then they say things twice. So, and this might be the reason that if the grown-up people do the same thing over and over again, it doesn't really match with the kind of role that you have as a public speaker. But this is just for the moment a speculative explanation. But definitely saying things twice, really, which is the most favorite thing of Mark Zuckerberg. You can do that as well. Then one more thing that has been called by Bob Port, Speech Prosody 2008, I think. It was called the punchline rhythm. Everybody who was children knows the punchline rhythm because you are basically leaving the speech rhythm for a short while and have a very strongly timed, perhaps even with this particular hand movement, you are basically stressing every syllable or every word that you are saying, normally 2 to 3 or maybe 3 to 4. So you're basically putting stress on every word, normally going downwards. It can also go upwards, but the meaning is a little different. This is a very, very strong buster meaning. If whatever you are saying, we've increased our turnover by 300% in the last year. People believe you, interestingly. So because the kind of punchline rhythm signals that there is basically no room for discussing this information. It is like this, period. Okay, and we have there are studies, not just by us, showing that if you are using the punchline rhythm, there's a good chance that you do not get questions on this information. So if you're not feeling confident about something, use the punchline rhythm and nobody will ask about it. At least 30% increase the chance that nobody will ask for this information. And this is what the punchline rhythm can do for you, word by word. And it's normally downstepped. So every word. If you do it upstepped, every word. It also works, but there's more surprise to it if you do it like that. And the last one that works, I think, I don't know if it works in English, but yeah, it works to some degree also in English. It is the rise for rise. So you're basically not just falling, not just rising, you are basically doing both. Okay, now, do you like that? Is that good? And what this does is it creates attention. So when I'm in my class and everybody is on a smartphone scrolling down, and I said something like no or okay, the least that you get is people look up. In some cases, especially if you have eye contact, no, people also do So this is a very, very strong confirmation trigger. So if you're doing okay, do we do it like that? Would you like to agree? People will say So this is a very useful thing in presentations to get attention and to get rapport. So basically to let people nod, to let people agree to what you are saying, more or less force people to agree to what you are saying. This is what the rise for rise can do to you. Also here, there's a little warning that if you're doing this too much, it's a bit pushy, because when you are doing that, it's a bit like taking the finger and nudging somebody. No, okay. Do we want to see? Do you like to come? And whenever you do that, it's a bit like putting the finger into somebody's personal dialogue space. And we do this very, very often. There's a good chance that you go on people's nerves, and the people think that you are really pushy or really overexpressive or annoying or whatever. So don't do it too often, but sometimes it can be really your friend if you want to get attention back, for instance. Okay, so this was the things that I would like to emphasize. Now to the dose. Basically, we have no evidence that basically any of these ones is better than the other one. On the contrary, what we can see is that everybody has his or her own favorite. So normally people use one or two of them, and it's completely speaker dependent which of these 5 that they've shown you can choose. It is either the reinforcement, the positive intensification, saying things twice. It can also be the punchline rhythm. It can be the rise for rise. Okay, you can also be pausing, but this is actually quite infrequent. So there are 5 to 6, perhaps also 7 of these kind of things. And what you use doesn't matter as long as you do make use of these things in a certain frequency per time unit. And for most of our Western Germanic languages, about 6 to 8 of these is actually good. If you are far beyond that, then you're either in the US or in teleshopping. So because in the US, you can actually use 10 or 12 and doesn't matter. In Denmark, about only 4, 5, 6 of them is already the maximum threshold. And there are countries where you have to be even below that. So the frequency of emphatic accents is very, very cultural specific. But in most languages that we speak something like 6 to 8, or the Dutch or German, English, especially British English, 6 to 8 is actually a good value that you can use per minute. So for example, if you are talking for about, if you have phrases, prosodic phrases that are about 2 or 3 seconds long, then there is the next phrase, and at some point you make a next pause, and at some point you come to an end. If they are about 3 to 4 seconds long, it means that you need about in every 5th, right? In every 5th of these phrases, 1. So it's actually not so, it is not so frequent. If you have a text, if you are speaking from a teleprompter or so, you have normally just 1 line is about 4 seconds of speech. So if we say that you have approximately 6 to 8 of them per minute, it means that in every 4th line of text, there is just 1 of these emphatic accents. It doesn't matter which one. Anything is fine. This is the way you should try to structure your speech to sound more expressive, sound more emotionally involved. Yes. Okay, so that's the thing. And I think that, yeah, there's some perhaps we can do one more thing that we could try out. This is not German, but I was not fast enough today to make an English example. But the thing is, in any language, it works in the same way. There are professional speakers that have a fancy trick, because when you are on stage and when you're not used to stand here, you easily get stressed. And when you get stressed, the first things that suffer is tempo and pausing. Tempo and pausing is very, very fragile to being nervous. You are speeding up, you're basically leaving out all pauses and talk forever. Because silence is scary if you're not used to that. And one of the things that people do to force themselves to make pauses is that they just replace the pauses by numbers. So you are, for example, if you have 2, you have one consonant and a bit of a diphthong vowel, or if you have a German accent, two, then you have no diphthong vowel, doesn't matter. So, and then you have the 5, where you have two consonants on either side and a diphthong in the middle, and saying 5 takes a bit more than half a second. Saying 2 is less than half a second long. If you say 27, it's about 1.5 seconds, a bit less, 1.2 seconds maybe. So you can, in any kind of text that you have, you put these numbers in, and you replace, for example, comma by 5, full stops by the 27, and everything where you think that there is a break with a 2. This is just as a rule of thumb. You can do anything with these numbers, but this is the way that people think it works best for them, at least in the first round. And then if you are basically practicing your presentation, you are basically reading the numbers inside the text. And if you've done this 2 or 3 times, you are just reading them silently. So you're basically producing all the speech aloud and the numbers just silently. And this forces you to make pauses because you have to speak the numbers silently. And the good thing about this is that if you are producing these numbers silently, they have the same speaking rate as the surrounding text. So basically, if you're faster or slower, the pauses are basically always in the right proportion in relation to your speaking rate. So this is something that is very, very useful, and you force yourself to make pauses in this way. Also tried that, and it's actually quite interesting and nice. If we had the time now, we could try it out, but we should not, maybe. But you have the slides, I think you have the slides at home. So just one little thing as a life hack that you can try out, and it works. I don't know why, but it does work. If you just say something and you make a stopwatch on, and you think, or you basically have the goal of speaking for exactly 60 seconds. And when you think that you have now achieved 60 seconds, then you look to the watch or to your timer on the smartphone or whatever. If you are too fast or have too few pauses, you will end before. If you have, if your tempo is too slow, or if you have too many pauses, then you end later, which is hardly ever the case, but it can happen sometimes. So this, for some reason, it works very, very well. Just time yourself, try to reach 60 seconds. And if you're not there, then you can say, okay, this was potentially too fast, or I've made not enough pauses or so. Because this is very nice and a low-tech exercise that you can do everywhere, in the train, here. It works, and you get an idea about how fast you are and how many pauses you do. That was my last advice. And I hope I have got across something today. And my last offer, I've said it, I'm already. Yes, that was yesterday. So if you have voice files, if you want to get one of our acoustic voice profiles to see what is my charisma score, what is my pitch level, pitch range, pausing rate, utterance duration, blah, 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 emphatic accent frequency, just send whatever kind of voice file you have in any format that you can use, smartphone recordings, that doesn't matter, to my email address, and then you get one of our voice profiles in return in normally about 12 hours time. So any questions? Thank you, of course, for your attention.